Hi, I'm Graham Latte, Chair of the Las Vegas Global Business Committee of the Las Vegas Realtors Association here in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment, sports, music, real estate, and everything else capital of the world. With me today is my Vice Chair, Michael Shiro, and between us we will be presenting to you a packed program of great speakers and hopefully lots of information that will benefit your business both domestically and internationally.
Thank you, Graham, and welcome to our annual Global Day. This year we are coming to you live from our studios at the Las Vegas Realtors Association. We are broadcasting to our members in Las Vegas and to real estate associates across the United States, Canada, Mexico, South America, New Zealand, Australia, United Kingdom, South Africa, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Serbia. We hope you enjoy the program that we have put together and that you will stay for the CE class this afternoon with our fabulous instructor, the real estate goddess of Las Vegas, Miss Tamara Larissa.
Thank you, Michael. Wow, no organization can function effectively without a great leader. And here in Las Vegas, we are so lucky to have our CEO, Wendy DeVicchio, join us. Wendy, welcome to our Global Day.
Good morning and welcome to Global Day. My name is Wendy DeVecchio and I am the CEO for the association. I want to first off thank Graham and Michael for this wonderful event that they have planned, and thank you all for joining us today. I do hope that you look forward to the day that Graham has planned and the day that Michael has planned and all the excitement and the great speakers. And yes, we are looking forward to our 2021 Global Day. Wherever you are, we hope you enjoy it and that it opens up opportunities for you to explore in your future international activities. I know we have a great lineup of speakers and you are in for a treat today. So have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and enjoy Global Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. It is my pleasure now to invite our Las Vegas Realtors President, Alto Martinez, to welcome our guests both domestically and from around the world to our Global Day and to officially declare it open.
Hi, I'm Aldo Martinez, your 2021 Las Vegas Realtor President, and Graham Lotta just asked me to say a few words this morning to open up our Global Day. Our global committees work extremely hard to earn diamond status. They're in the renewal process today. They've got some amazing speakers coming out to talk to you. I hope you stay tuned and stay with us, and let's give it a great Las Vegas Realtor opening to Global Day.
So, before we begin our exciting program that we have lined up for you today, can I ask you, wherever you are watching this program, to please stand in preparation for the singing of the National Anthem. To sing the National Anthem of the United States of America, please welcome one of Las Vegas's top entertainers, Miss Lily Arce, lead vocalist with David Perico and the Pop Strings Orchestra, and the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium Band.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
Lily, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Lily, I know our audience will be wondering if you were born and bred in Las Vegas.
No, I was not. I was born in Texas,
And-
Killeen, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And I've been here 15 years, though, so this is home now.
Oh, fabulous. Well, Lily, Las Vegas is all the better for you coming here, and we are so thankful you made the move to this amazing city. Thank you once again. We really appreciate you, and see you again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you've just heard from the lead vocalist with the Las Vegas Raiders house band, we would now like to introduce you to our featured guest today, of course, no other than Mr. David Perico, musical director and creator of the headlining Pop Strings Orchestra here in Las Vegas, and the band leader, musical director of the Las Vegas Raiders house band. Welcome, David Perico.
Great to be here. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. David, it's a great pleasure to have you with us, and what a great performance of the national anthem. Lily is just an amazing artist, right?
She sure is. She sure is.
David, your band at the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium numbers, I think it's 19 musicians. Tell us what challenges you get from managing a band of that size.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a great question. It's just like its own football team. So, I have a manager, Crystal Yuan, who is the band manager and does all the scheduling, and she really does help out a lot with the coordinating of people's schedules and also working with the Raiders organization. So it's not too challenging for me, but everyone's such top pros that everything really does fall in place.
Wow. Thank you. David, you have musicians in your band who play with other headliners on the Las Vegas Strip. Tell us about the talent you have in the band and how you manage to attract such high-profile and top musicians.
Well, actually, the latter part of that question is, I find that working with such great, talented people, not only musicians, but just great people, want to be around other talented people. And it's just like a football team, baseball team. So, and also, if you've ever seen Pop Strings or you've seen the Raider band, you'll see that everybody basically is featured. So it's not just me and the band backing me up. So I find that great players, talented people, doesn't matter what profession, want to work with other talented people. So it's kind of easy for me to do that, and I just get out of the way.
Right. Well, David, throughout your musical career, you've played and worked with a number of headliners yourself. Can you tell us some of the highlights of your career so far?
Oh, geez. If we go back to the early 90s, that was really where I cut my teeth performing with the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra, touring about 46, 47 weeks a year, mainly one-nighters, 17-piece big band. And then moving here to Las Vegas, some of the highlights definitely were Donnie Marie, Gladys Knight, Natalie Cole, working with Cirque du Soleil, Viva Elvis show, Tony Braxton. The list goes on. I've been really lucky. So I would say those are some of the highlights for sure.
And as musical director, you've done a few shows as well as MD.
Yeah, as far as music director, one of the highlights was when I was contacted by the illustrious music director from CBS Orchestra, Paul Schaefer. He asked me he heard the band at Cleopatra's Barge at Caesar's Palace, and then offered me the job to be his music director and write the music for his show that he did a couple of stints over a 2-year period. That was one show that I really, I was honored to serve as music director. A couple other shows were at the Stratosphere a few years ago. There was a show that featured Claire Sinclair, Playboy Playmate, and they built a show around here, so I was music director for that. Some stuff with the Rat Pack is back. Toys for Tots charity event, I did that for about 9 years as their music director. Nevada Ballet. Yeah, those are some of the fun music director stuff.
It's cool. It's cool. David, most of us think that when you decide on a set list for a performance, that everyone in the band just knows the songs or listens to the music and picks up the tune. But there's more to this than what we think, right?
Yeah, definitely.
As not only the band leader, but the musical arranger, composer. Tell us the process for when you introduce new songs and how you prepare the band to play those songs.
Well, first I consult with my wife, Lily. Actually, it is a process. And when you have a 19-piece orchestra or a large ensemble, you really can't buy the sheet music that's already custom orchestrated for that ensemble. So basically, if it's we'll just say for shorthand, a Bruno Mars song, like Treasure, then I would listen to that recording. I would basically transcribe it and pretty much note for note what the song is. And then I would custom arrange for the strings, the all-female string section. And then I would custom arrange the parts for the rhythm section, the piano, bass, guitar, drums. And then with the Raider band, on top of that, it would be my part, the trumpet, and then 4 other horns. So trombone, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, and baritone saxophone. And then also the singers, I don't really arrange for them. They kind of take their own, they put their own stamp on it. But it is a process. To write every single thing that we play has to be orchestrated in a custom fashion. We can't just can't buy it online anywhere. Can't go to Amazon and just get a chart. And they're called charts. For slang, they're charts with arrangements of the chart. Yeah.
So you have a chart for each instrument.
Absolutely. Everyone has their own individual part.
Wow.
It's just like if you went to go see a symphony orchestra. Yeah. Everybody has their own custom part that comes from that score.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Thank you. David, our audience of real estate agents all have busy scheduled disciplines that they do every day and every week as they prospect for business. Mm-hmm. As a professional musical director and currently band leader for the Las Vegas Raiders, what does your day and week look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. It varies from day to day. I wear different hats. When you're a band leader, you have to wear the managerial hat. And to your point about being disciplined, my days usually start, around 7 a.m., fielding emails, as you know. Potential gigs, potential people inquiring about, I have 10 bands that I produce, 4 really working the most. So I'll have inquiries about those, quotes, contracts, certificates of insurance, backline equipment that has to be at every job that you have to coordinate. And within the 2 bands, I have 2 band leaders that lead those bands. So with the Pop 40 band or the Pop Retro band, that's taken care of with Joe Spraker, and with Pop Strings, that's taken care of with Crystal Yuan. So I have to communicate, okay, this is what's happening, here's the contract, this is the details of the gig, and then they go ahead and hire stuff. And then there's always a bunch of back and forth. And then by noon, I may be done doing some of that. I'll do some practicing. Practice my trumpet on and off for a couple hours, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I'll play at the piano. Might do some writing and some more phone calls, and then an interview or 2. Yeah.
So you have a busy day and week as well.
It's definitely busy. I love it though. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Hey, David, I know your instrument of choice is obviously the trumpet, but I hear that you have your own signature trumpet made specifically for you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Pete LaPlaca and the company is a small little boutique brass company that makes trumpets, and they're out of Chicago. Pete LaPlaca, met him about 10 years ago, and he had a few models of trumpets, and I just mentioned to him, I said, it might be a good idea to come out with a Las Vegas brand, something that from the entertainment capital of the world, a nice little marketing, tagline. And it took about 3 years from concept to completion. The company they have the horns made in Taiwan, so there's a little bit of a distance. So they would make a horn, a prototype, and send it to me, and then they would go back and then tweak a few things. But yeah, I'm honored and flattered that they named it the Las Vegas model under my name.
Wow,
So yeah.
that's great. Actually, getting back to a performance, I know acoustics in preparation are always an important part of any musical production. So can you tell us about the differences and challenges in playing, say, an intimate venue with a few hundred people as against a stadium with 65,000 people and millions watching on live television?
Yeah, the difference are quite stark contrasts. An intimate gig, let's just say at Cleopatra's Barge at Caesar's Palace. So we're on a small stage. It's generally a small room of 200 people. So the house sound system, we're pretty much playing organically, where we might have a few monitors, and just a general sound system. So we're playing more organically, more naturally. When you go to network television, and especially into an arena the size of Allegiant Stadium, which is 65,000, then the sound parameters change. And what has to happen is we don't have those monitors. We don't even hear ourselves at all, but we have what's called in-ear monitors. So everyone has 2 in-ear monitors, and we hear everything. We hear the band. The mix of the band is in our ears. So we're playing that way. We're not playing, I would say, in a natural way, but that is basically where music has evolved as far as sound equipment and technology, that everybody has in-ears, just like a newscaster. And on top of that, throughout the games, the producers are calling the game and the commercials and the timeouts and where to go. So the Raiderettes may have a spot, the DJ may have a spot, the Raider band may have a spot, but that's being called in my ear. So they'll say something like, "Okay, David, stand by. In 3 minutes, I need 20 seconds. In 1 minute, I need 2 minutes. Give us Sweet Child of Mine. Give us, the Autumn Wind theme or the Death Star Imperial March. Give me 25 seconds, 60 seconds." So that's the huge difference with playing a lounge act, which is more kind of interactive, where this is definitely cued and scripted. But even if it is scripted, it still goes off script. Because there could be an interception, there could be a timeout, an injury or something. So what we had up to play is no longer, we're not going to do that. So that it gets a bit of it's not stressful. It's just, you really got to be on your toes and be nimble.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about the band. These musicians, I mean, within a 10-second time, I've called 3 different songs. And Lily will tell you. Within 10 seconds, I'm like, "Okay, play this. No, they want this. No, they want this," and they're on it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And in fact, folks, we actually have a clip of your band playing at the Raiders Stadium, so our audience can get an idea of the magnitude of the occasion. So, can we roll the clip, you guys? Great clip, David. What a great platform to perform on.
Thank you. Yeah, exciting. A lot of energy.
Yeah.
A lot of energy.
Hey, David, already the Raiders organization has attracted many people to buying real estate in Las Vegas. And with your amazing house band playing before, during, and after the games, you are certainly part of the exciting package that encourages people from around the United States and the world to invest in Las Vegas, as it is such a vibrant city and people want to be part of it. Has there been any adjustments on your part to being involved with the Raiders organization, where it's still football, music, and entertainment, but also part of a major business machine?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in short, just the notoriety right out of the gate. with the Raiders, being branded with the Raiders organization, which I have to say is top flight all around. And my interaction with the Raiders organization has just been fantastic. But I see, I've been doing quite a bit of TV interviews, media. There's a lot of media excitement around the being the entertainment capital of the world. When you come to a Las Vegas football game, it's different than anything you're going to see, just from the lighting, the entertainment aspect. So I really had to adjust to be ready for anything. It's just the nature of sports. So there's always requests and accommodations and flexibility. So I would say to that point, just in a scheduling, from a scheduling standpoint, and to your point, the Raiders in town have definitely attracted a huge amount of excitement and people wanting to move here and live here. We've got the Golden Knights and we've got the Raiders, we've got the Aviators, and then there's more stuff coming. So and again, being in Vegas, when you're at a Raiders game, you're going to experience something that you can only get in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And there's no other football teams that are doing this, and it's only going to keep growing. I think from an entertainment standpoint.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, David, thank you for the contribution and the success of the Raiders football team and to Las Vegas as the entertainment capital of the world. We're so privileged to have you in our city, and please don't ever think of leaving, no matter how big the future offers are. Okay?
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's an honor. And, on behalf of the Raider Band, everyone, we sincerely thank you for this time and this interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, folks, next time you're at the Las Vegas Raiders football game, look upstairs and spot Mr. David Perico and the Raiders Stadium Band playing before, during, and after the game. And give them a wave. Thank you, David.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right.
Our first presentation today is going to be from our friend and colleague at NAR, Lisa Kalaka. We are fortunate to have her with us today, and she brings so much knowledge and information on the future of real estate, both domestically and internationally. She is such a valuable source of information, and Lisa is Manager of Global Programs and Outreach at the National Association of Realtors in Chicago, and she currently works with association executives and staff to bring global business focus into their local markets and raise awareness of the impact of foreign direct investment on local economies. Lisa, a big Las Vegas welcome.
Hi there, Greater Las Vegas Realtors. It is a pleasure to be with you for your Global Day this year. My name is Lisa Calarco, and I'm the Manager of Global Programs and Outreach for the National Association of Realtors, and I have a ton of information to share with you. I'm going to be talking all about global engagement from the National Association of Realtors, the research we have, what that tells us about what's going on in the market, some resources for you to reach into, and additional ways to connect to the global marketplace. So I've got a lot to get through. I'm going to go ahead and get right to it. I think the first thing is always so important is to talk about who we're talking about. Let's define who we're talking about in the global space. Knee-jerk reaction a lot of the times is to think, oh, global, that's not here, that's over there, wherever over there is. But it's not just that. It is, of course, part of the category of a global client is a foreign buyer living abroad, or an investment buyer who may or may not be based in the United States, but it also includes a list of other global clients, including immigrants, first-generation Americans, Americans buying abroad, and clients with international connections. So it's a big category, and I want you to keep that in mind when we're talking about the research and the data and the trends that we all see in this space. Where do we get that information? Typically, we get that from our annual survey, the International Transactions in U.S. Residential Real Estate Report. It comes out at the end of July, beginning of August every year. It's a report that we've been doing for in excess of 10 years at this point. So this really gives us a picture 1 year, a 12-month picture of what's happened in the US residential real estate sector as far as it relates to our international buyers. Why do we do that? Of course, like I just said, it helps us measure the size of the US residential real estate transactions with international clients. It helps us gather information on the origin, destination, and buying preferences of those clients. And it helps us as an association identify the challenges and opportunities faced by realtors who are serving foreign clients, so that perhaps we know where additional education is needed when we're looking at, how can we enhance the benefits that we offer to our members? Are there additional education? It seems like this could be a problem. Perhaps it's advocacy. Perhaps there's a barrier to entry that we haven't considered when it comes to purchases in the residential real estate market and things like that. So that helps us get a really good look at what's actually happening, reported by our practitioners to us out there in the real estate market. Now, this report, if you go to nar.realtor/research, you will find the entire report. As an NAR member, you have access to that report. And if you're in the global space already and you haven't looked at that report, it's okay. It just came out at the end of July. It's not that long ago, but I do highly recommend that you go to our site and download this information. It's about 40-page long report. So I'm not going to give you all the secrets here, but there will be information in there that may resonate with you depending on who you're working with or where your plans are planning to take you for the next couple of years in this marketplace. So you definitely want to go down there and take a look at it. What I'm going to give you today are the highlights, the things that we like to call attention to, but there is a lot more of information in that report. So the first thing you'll see is that there were $54.4 billion of foreign buyer purchases in the United States from April 2020 to March of 2021. That is the 12-month period that we are looking at for this report. And I'm sure a lot of you, those few dates may ring a bell. Our report always happens in this 12-month window. And so it wasn't intentional, but what it did was it captured the moment the pandemic shutdowns, lockdowns happened across the world. And through March of 2021, when most of them were pretty much continuing. So the unique thing was the 2020 report captured 12 months up until those shutdowns and lockdowns had begun to happen. So it's really kind of a unique time capsule if you think about it. Again, nothing we can pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, look at us, we got it out in time. We didn't have any, advanced knowledge of what was going to happen, of course, but it really did give us a really interesting perspective on the foreign purchases in the United States and how they were impacted by the pandemic. 107,000 of U.S. properties were purchased by foreign buyers, and again, from April 2020 to March of 2021, and 58% of those buyers were resident foreign buyers. So there are two types of buyers this report looks at. The type A is the non-resident foreign buyer, exactly what it sounds like. They are not residents of the United States. So those are typically the purchasers from abroad. And then you have the resident foreign buyers. Again, exactly what it sounds like. Those are people who reside in the United States. So those are the immigrants, the first generation buyers, and perhaps those that are on long-term work visas, something along those lines where they're, here, they're living, they're working, they tend to invest in real estate if they're here for, more than 2 years. And those are the resident foreign buyers. So this was interesting. What the trend we have seen over the last few years is that more of the resident foreign buyers are purchasing property than the non-residents, than those, from overseas who happen to have excess money, perhaps purchasing luxury properties or vacation or resort properties. They're still happening. They're still 42% of the market share, but we're seeing a larger tick in the resident foreign buyer purchases. So those of you working here in Vegas or wherever you are in the world watching their global day, in the United States, we're seeing that more of those foreign purchases are coming from folks that are residents. They are members of your community and they are purchasing their first property as a US resident. Well, where are they purchasing, right? So we look at the top states in this report, and we do dig down. You will see more states on this list, but of course, you always want the top, right, to talk about. So the talking points show us that the top 6 states, and then we have 6 because number 5 and 6, you'll see they're tied for 4%. But in 2020 to 2021, the top states for foreign investment by international buyers were Florida, California, Texas, Arizona, New York, and New Jersey. So those were the top 6 states. And who's buying there? So just because it's not a blanket statement, right? Each market is very unique, as you know, depending on what little area you work in, differs from the area next door to you. So the same goes in the global space as well. You can look. I'm not going to read these all to you, but Florida, our number one, which has consistently been our number one for foreign buyers, tends to see majority of its purchases coming from Latin America, Europe, and Canada. But it is the top destination for Canadian and UK, the United Kingdom buyers. And so if you're working in Florida, and perhaps you say, I've had enough of the East Coast, I'm going to go to the West Coast, and I'm a global practitioner, and I know everything there is to know because I've been working in Florida handling international clients since the dawn of time. And you head west and you set up shop in California, and that's our number 2 state for foreign investment. So you're like, I got this, right? No big deal. Well, majority of the buyers who are purchasing in California are coming from Asia or Oceania. That's 47% of the international purchases that happen in California are made by those buyers. It is the top destination for Chinese and Asian Indian buyers. And so while you understand the ins and outs of a foreign transaction, that could be very true, but what you may not understand are how it's transacted in the countries they're coming from. What are the way they're used to doing business? Perhaps language could be a barrier, or cultural norms that vary drastically from those you were used to working with who were coming from Latin America or Europe or Canada. It's a very different type of transaction. And so this just, again, shows you, if you're in this space and you think you can just pick up stakes and go do it in another place, you certainly can, but you're certainly going to have to understand the learning curve that comes with it. And this helps, of course, it helps us understand which buyers are looking where, and then try to craft a story to understand the data a little bit more, like why are they coming? Why are they going to California? Why do, so many Canadian buyers go to Florida? Raise your hand if you know that question. If you know the answer to that question. And I'm envisioning a room full of hands raised because obviously they are just like me up here in Chicago. They are snowbirds looking for relief from those long winter nights, and they head down to the south for that relief. And so Canada heads to Florida. They also look in Arizona. If you look at Arizona, 50% of their international clients come from Canada. 50%. 1 in 4 Canadians purchase a home in Arizona. That is wild, but it totally makes sense. We are the same continent. They are the Great North, and we have the South with the beaches. And so they come south to spend time here. There's very little to no language barrier. Real estate's transacted in a similar way. There are differences. So it's, again, a little bit less of a barrier to entry there as well. And that's why. So that makes sense. And it's interesting to see Arizona. I think Arizona has recently climbed high on Canada's list. It's always been Florida. But again, I think it's just the nuance of watching where these clients are going and coming from, but also what you need to know as a practitioner if you are working in these markets, understanding your international clientele. But don't worry, they're still purchasing in all the other places. So if you're assumingly you're with me and you're standing in Nevada and you're like, oh, we didn't see us on there. 3% of the foreign buyers so we had New York and New Jersey who came in at 4%. The other, there's a list of 4 that came in at 3. And so those were North Carolina, Ohio, Georgia, and Michigan. Again, states that probably are not used to hearing their, their name called, if you will, in the space of foreign purchases. But foreign buyer purchases were reported in 45 states and the District of Columbia. So whether or not your state got enough information to be pulled out and highlighted in this report, we got enough information to show us that there were that foreign buyer purchases were happening in 45 states and the District of Columbia. So it is happening everywhere. So it's like, it's not here, it's not happening here. It is. And my guess is in those other 5 states, perhaps we just didn't get enough respondents to give us enough data to claim that they were happening there. But I can guarantee you that foreign buying is happening in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. Now let's flip it. Who are we talking about? Where are these investors coming from? Well, the top countries for investment here in the United States are Canada, Mexico, China, India, and the UK. But to round out that top 10, we also have Argentina, Israel, Italy, Japan, and Colombia. So those are the top 10 countries who are investing in US residential real estate in the United States that we saw from April 2020 to March of 2021. Really interesting thing is that China, who has been the top country of origin since 2015, fell to third place with the 6% share last year. So they slid to third place, which was, again, the first time this has happened in 5 years. But that was by the number of homes purchased. So they still remain the largest foreign buyer in terms of dollar volume of home purchase, but in terms of the number of home purchases, China was outpaced by both Canada and Mexico. And so you'll see Canada purchased around 8,800 US properties, Mexico somewhere in the area of 7,000, and China came in around 6,000. However, in the report, you can look at, average purchase price by these countries of origin, and you'll see that Chinese buyers typically purchase in homes at a price point of above $700,000, while Canadians will tend to buy in around the $300,000 area. So you see how the difference is. The Chinese are purchasing at a higher purchase price with less properties. Canadians lower purchase price, but higher amount of properties were purchased. But again, this was the first time that we saw China slide from number one. Not only did they go from number one, they went down to number 3 for April 2020, March of 2021. And our North American partners in Canada and Mexico rose the ranks of number 1 and number 2. So you can really take a good dive and see like, okay, well, where are my Canadian friends going to purchase? And there's a list of states there: Mexico, China, India, and the UK. Again, the top 5 foreign countries of origin and where they are parking their money. And so Nevada does show up here on the list under China. Nevada does see a significant investment from the Chinese buyers as well. Really great. I love this slide. It might be hard to read from your perspective, but it's really cool to see such a variety of states reported here. We get states such as, Oregon, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Iowa, Georgia. States we don't often see highlighted are being called out here, which I think is really cool. Again, goes back to the point that foreign transactions are happening in every state in the United States. And so being aware of what's happening in your market, why are they moving there? What does that look like for your business plan, et cetera, is something that can help you craft what you're doing going forward. And of course, I've talked about the time frame and how perfectly it aligned with the pandemic. And of course, it did have an impact on the international purchases here in the United States. It was a 27% decrease from year prior. So I don't think that shocks anybody, quite frankly. The last few years, we had seen investment return kind of back to a normal $70-80 billion range. It sounds just, normal $70 billion. So it fell about 27%. It fell around $20 billion from year prior. Again, you can see that type B, the resident buyer, was carrying a lot more of the weight in 2020 to 2021, purchasing about $32 billion was purchased by the resident foreign buyers. The biggest decline came from those non-resident buyers. And of course, in this report, it details the economic impacts and the way the currency fluctuations and lockdowns and all the differences, the economic uncertainty that came along with the pandemic, perhaps scared off those that may be interested in investing some of their additional money into US residential real estate, which is where we see a lot of those non-resident foreign buyers purchasing as an investment. And so with the uncertainty, like, what's the world going to look like? Am I going to have a job? Maybe I'll just hang on to this extra money just until I'm sure that things are safe again. And so, of course, And additionally, on top of that, there still are travel restrictions, and international visitors are not allowed into the United States until they've said now maybe early November. And so a lot of those purchases were people perhaps vacationing in the United States or visiting, or, maybe taking a trip over and deciding where exactly they wanted. Was it Florida or was it Arizona? Perhaps it's New York, maybe it's San Francisco. Let's go check it out before we decide where to put our money. And so that definitely impacted the residential purchases by our foreign buyers in 2020 to 2021. If things start to open back up again, fingers crossed, and we're on the other side of this pandemic and international travel resumes, I think we can all safely assume that the market will quickly perhaps return to the level it was in 2019 or 2020. But I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I wish I could tell you exactly where we would be a year from now, because a year ago, I think I was saying the exact same thing. But again, the greatest impact on foreign buyers who live or would have lived in the US on business, employment, or student visas. That was the greatest impact that we saw year on year, was that there were less of those folks because they couldn't get here on visas for business, or perhaps, short-term employment or student visas. A lot of foreign investment comes in the form of parents investing for their students who are attending universities here in the United States, purchasing property while they're here, investing in that, perhaps even before they get here. And once those opportunities went away for a year, then the investment went away along with it. So I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you, by, January 2022, this will all be done and we'll be good. But I think having this research should at least help you understand. Like I said, go read on the economic impacts and the way things impact the residential real estate market. It's fascinating information to have and to make yourself aware of. And, other issues are in there as well. There's not a lot of inventory. It doesn't matter if you're domestic or international, there's just not homes to buy. And so of course, that's going to start having a drag on the residential purchases by foreign buyers. There's not the home at the price point they're looking for in the community that they want. And so those, are all issues globally in the real estate world, domestic or international here in the United States. And so you got to keep some of those things in mind. And of course, with the pandemic. And so as things begin to open up, I think that I would expect we probably will see an increase in that number. Hopefully, like I said, 2021 to 2022, fingers crossed. But still, there's still a lot of business happening, and it's arming yourself with the knowledge and the information to prepare yourself for when that international travel resumes, for, preparing yourself to handle clients who maybe they want to sell and maybe they want to live somewhere else. And how do you prepare your clients for that kind of information as well? So there's a lot more than NAR has for our globally minded members. We have additional research. Like, I can go on all day about the research we have, but aside from the large international report that gets released every summer, we additionally have a commercial real estate and international business trends, Global Alliance's International Residential Real Estate Business Survey, which I joke, but is the longest name ever for a survey, but it's a really cool one. The state-by-state international reports. I'm going to give you a really high-level content on those three, and I highly encourage you to dig into those as well at nar.realtor. You see the website right there, /research-and-statistics. If you go to nar.realtor at the very top on the menu bar, you'll see research and statistics. It is that easy. Go to the research reports. Again, there for any NAR member. It is your data, your reports to download, digest, and do with what you please. So the 2021 commercial international transactions was data collected every year from January to February of 2021. We have foreign investment. It looks at foreign investment transactions from our NAR commercial members, typically in the less than 2.5 million range. And then we also supplement that information with data from Real Capital Analytics. And those are acquisition of properties or portfolios of at least 2.5 million. So we get the 2.5 million and below, and we get the 2.5 million and above. And so that tells us what's happening in the commercial international business sector. And again, the kind of information you see in the residential report: who's buying where, what are they buying, the type of properties, what are they leasing, what are the challenges they're facing, and all of those information along that. Again, the who, the what, the where, the why. So if you're in the commercial space, this is a valuable report. And even if you're not in the commercial space, businesses drive rooftops. And so to understand your business, your city, your state, holistically, it's looking at the business moving in, the people that move after, or perhaps there's a, residential area. Now you need to move in a commercial, a grocery store or a warehouse or things like that. And, where's the workforce? Where does that all go? How can you help a client make that decision? So information like that is contained in that report. And then the super long name, the Mobile Alliance's International Residential Real Estate Business Survey report. I think this one is really cool. So this is the inverse of our report that we do here in the United States. And we did it last year at the end of 2020 for the first time. We sent a survey to over 3,500 members of our bilateral partners all around the world. And it's a really cool interactive result. It's not, you don't have to download it and, thumb through it. It has very interactive results. So we went around the world and we said, tell us what's happening in your country. What do international buyers look like in India? What do they look like in the UK? It's really cool. I think it's a lot of great information, especially if you're working maybe with people looking to move to another country, or maybe you're looking to decide for yourself. But it shows the top foreign buyers in those countries. Where are they looking for property? What's the average purchase price? What's their source of financing? What's the type of property? What are the house prices in their country versus where the buyers are coming from? And so a lot of our bilateral partners don't have this information, and they were curious if we, how we collected it. And so we offered this for them. And it's a really cool, we got enough research and data from 14 different countries to go ahead and report on that. So if you haven't seen that information, again, it makes you more savvy. It can help, perhaps you can help a client before handing that transaction off to a practitioner in that country to handle. You can at least, arm your client with all the information they need and, help them on their way as they go purchase a property in another locale. And then we have our trustee state-by-state reports. These get updated about every 18 to 24 months, and it's state-level economic data, and it points to the potential of working with international clients interested in purchasing U.S. residential or commercial real estate for a primary residence, vacation home, investment property, or business use. And so we have these for all 50 states plus the District of Columbia. And it's a lot of census data, so that's why it's not refreshed annually, because census data doesn't get updated that quickly. But as soon as it does, we update these reports. And so go ahead, go to, again, nar.realtor/research and download the Nevada report. It has demographics, languages spoken, countries of origin, the businesses that are there, if that data is publicly available. All of that in there, again, to help you understand in not just your state, in the major metros in your state as well. Additionally, NAR works with state and local associations to build groups within the local or state board structure dedicated to globally themed education, programming, and networking for their members. This should sound very familiar for you, those of you at the Greater Las Vegas Realtors. And if you're not familiar with that, please stay tuned. These groups act as realtor-driven community organization, helping realtors build partnerships with globally minded businesses, mortgage brokers, attorneys, and other relevant local entities, as well as positions their association as the voice for global real estate in the local market. Global programming provides new skill development for members, new business opportunities for both the association and their members, a broader community presence, again, for the association and their members, and increased member involvement. Who are those members? Everybody listed on this slide. Anybody from resort specialists to property managers. Global touches every aspect of real estate. Every aspect has an international side to it. So anybody you can think of is probably additionally could be transacting or could be working on a team who handles international, or could have an aspect of their business that's international that an association could serve the members' interest. We have 130 associations in the global space here in the United States. They serve the global needs of over 500,000 NAR members. We have an achievement program, the Global Achievement Program. It's an awards program that recognizes and rewards the most active associations in global business. We have categories of recognition: diamond, platinum, gold, and silver. And spoiler alert, the Greater Las Vegas Realtors earned diamond status in 2019. Hold for applause. Woo! Since 2014, the Greater Las Vegas Realtors has achieved platinum, which is the highest level of global achievement recognition. It resulted in their program being elevated to diamond in 2019. They were one of only 3 that achieved that level in 2019, and they are currently in the ranks of 11 other US local associations who have received this elite level of recognition. If you don't know, the Greater Las Vegas Realtors have consistently provided their members with the tools they need to handle international real estate while working hard to connect their counsel to the global community in their market area and beyond, while also facilitating outreach for the real estate practitioners around the world. So you have a very hardworking group of staff and volunteer leaders that have put together this global day for you, but they have been doing it since 2014. So congratulations to the Greater Las Vegas Realtors. Again, it's like 2-year-old information, but if you don't know, now you know, and you can't say you didn't know. There's a few other things NAR offers as well in the global support for those of you that are practicing or interested in practicing more in the global space. We have 110 partner associations in 75 countries around the world. That represents about 7 million real estate professionals worldwide. We have 27 NAR global ambassadors, those are US members, 5 NAR global coordinators who oversee the regions of the world in which the global ambassadors work. We have over, like we said, over 130 global business councils in 30 states. And there are 45 ambassador associations. Additionally, there are 5,000 plus international Realtor members. Now, before you ask me, no, that is not a category membership for an NAR US-based member. That is international Realtor members. Those are members of our bilateral partners outside the United States. They can join the National Association of Realtors here through their bilateral partner. So those are members, 5,000 plus, that joined NAR all around the world. They are Realtors just like you, and they are a great network for you. As I was talking about that survey and referring people, and these are the people you'd want to work with. You can find all the directories for these people. You can understand a little bit more about who they are, how it works, the connections at nar.realtor/global/global-alliances. It's right there on the screen. We also have a really cool library called Real Estate Practices Around the World. It is a resource for general guidelines on real estate practices in countries around the world where the information was provided to us by our cooperating association and or bilateral partner, interchangeable words there, from around the world. And we have who provided the information, when it was most recently updated. We asked them all the same questions. So it is a library of that kind of resource and information. Again, another great guide to help you perhaps assist a client who's curious about, what does it take to purchase a home in China? Do they have commission fees? Do they even own property in other countries? How does that work? It's a comprehensive list. It's not just what you see on the screen here, but go ahead and you see the website address there as well. Go check that out if you're curious for yourself or for your clients. We have these resources for you to help you strengthen your business. There is also a podcast called The Platinum Perspectives. And in 2020, we interviewed 11 state and local associations and asked them how they created such high achieving global groups at the state or local level. It was me and them, and we looked at the 11 because I was like, how do I get to be platinum award winning? And we went right to the source and said, tell everybody what it took for you to get to this level. So if you're in this space and you are platinum and you're like, this is great, but what new ideas are there? If you haven't even had a global group, if you're curious what one is like, what would it do? What are the benefits? Or perhaps you have one and you're like looking to push yourselves further. I think it's great to hear stories. Again, keep in mind they're platinum, so they're like our highest level of achievement. So if you haven't ever put a global group together at your state or local association, you probably won't be able to do what the platinum levels are doing, but there's some great nuggets in there. And there's some great, well, we can't do it this level, but let's start here. How do we start here and move ourselves up? So it's a podcast that I put together in 2021, this year. I've had a broader conversation about how global fits into the overall association landscape. So global in research, global in advocacy, global in diversity. Basically, the first episode we did was what even is global at NAR. So we really want to know all about NAR's global structure and why and how it came to be and what it looks like now. Go ahead and go to Spotify and look up Platinum Perspectives, or go to nar.realtor/platinum-perspectives, and you can see all the episodes and what it contains and the information you're looking for there. We also have NAR in Espanol. This is a platform for US and global members to easily access content, resources, and tools in Spanish. So this is not just a specifically global benefit or program or anything like that. And we actually have over 100,000 US-based Spanish-speaking members and about 2,000 plus outside of the US. On this platform, it includes content to help both educate members and their consumers, Spanish-speaking, with resources and tools and things we have already at NAR, but they're translated into Spanish to recognize and assist our Spanish-speaking US and global members. So if you're working with Spanish-speaking members, if you are yourself a Spanish-speaking member, we have this platform for you to go ahead and get some additional information and webinars and all kinds of things that connect this community together. And of course, there is always the Certified International Property Specialist, which is NAR's only international designation. And then the CIPS has a network of over 4,000 designees in 50 countries around the world. This is the elite. These are the folks that really focus on international transactions. They're specialists in that field. So if you're interested in elevating yourself or finding a new way to connect with folks who are transacting in international business specifically, this is the designation you'd want to look into. It's nar.realtor/CIPS. It is a series of 5 classes and an application for designation, all of which can be found on that website, along with course schedules and all that kind of information. So feel free to check that out. Okay, real quick, I know I'm running short on time. Just a few additional global opportunities for those of you wondering what to do once we can do things again. We have NAR has a USA pavilion at the MIPIM conference. MIPIM is a conference. It is the world's largest property showcase, and it happens every year, traditionally in March in Cannes, France. It is where you can connect with 26,000 attendees from 100 countries, including 5,000 investors. It is a commercial show. It is where large developments, cities go to showcase their market and get investment opportunities for an international audience. NAR has a USA pavilion there, and we also have member pricing. So our pavilion is for our associations who wish to join us. For example, if we usually have partners from Florida, Missouri, North Carolina, they come to be there, and they usually bring their commercial practitioners, economic development partnerships, perhaps large commercial development, to say, hey, here's what we have. Who wants, I don't even know what the proper measurement would be, but like 50,000 acres of land in North Carolina for a warehouse. We have the space. Here's our tax incentives, things like that. And there's also, like I said, we have member pricing for any member interested in attending the MIPIM conference. We have NAR member pricing. It's all at nar.realtor/MIPIM. Of course, there's the Realtors Conference and Expo, which happens every November. Traditionally, we host about 2,000 global real estate professionals from 80 countries around the world. Now, the asterisk there is obviously in a couple weeks from now, we are going to have the conference in San Diego, November 12th through the 15th. But due to ongoing pandemic concerns and international travel restrictions, international attendance in person for 2021 is expected to be lower than usual. So I just want to caveat that, truth in advertising. A normal, quote unquote, normal years, we get at least 2,000 global real estate professionals attending this conference. And so if you're wanting to connect with people from all over the world, but don't necessarily know where to begin, the NAR conference is a fantastic place for you to begin. Those folks come to the US real estate Realtors Conference and Expo to connect and learn the latest business and tech trends in the US at our conference. And we have specific networking events held for those global real estate professionals. We will still have those events in 2021. We just obviously will have probably a smaller global audience, but there will still be all the NAR global governance happening, international night out, our welcome reception. All of those things you're used to will still be happening at our conference, November 12th through the 15th in San Diego. 2022, I believe we are going to be back in Orlando, Florida. And like I said, fingers crossed, I'm doing a lot of that. But that, by then the world will be a little bit safer and international travel restrictions hopefully will be lifted by that point. And so we will see many of our friends at that time. And last but not least, by the time you guys have your global day, this event will have passed, but the C5 Summit, NAR will have held our inaugural C5 Summit in New York City. It is the premier US-based commercial real estate event where we're having influential leaders, building relationships, decision makers, the entire commercial chain, if you will, from members to developers to investors, will all be attending this C5 Summit. 2022 dates will be coming soon. You can visit www.c5summit.realtor. Of course, if you're a commercial practitioner, this is a fantastic event for you. Or if you have, again, if you are working, maybe with a residential area that you're looking to get some investment for, or connect with a commercial practitioner, this is a great event for you to do that at. So again, 2022 dates are coming soon. You can visit c5summit.realtor. Keep an eye on that for the updated information. So I know I've said a lot. I think I probably went over the time that Graham had allowed me to have, so I hope that's okay. But I want to say thank you. I know this is a lot of information, just drinking from the fire hose, and I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly what the world's going to look like as you're listening to this report. But what I can tell you is that if you don't have the information, the education, the data, the research to understand what is currently happening in your market or where things may or may not be going, that's really hard to craft a smart business plan. So take advantage of all the tools that NAR has, all the research we have, the ways you can connect with members, currently virtually, or, as the world opens in person again, and that will help you build and strengthen your business and be successful in the years ahead. So again, my name is Lisa Calarco. I appreciate your time at your global day, and you can see on my screen here, should you have any questions from this presentation, go ahead and send me an email. My email address is right there, lcalarco@nar.realtor. Again, thank you so much for having me. Best of luck and hope to see you all soon. Stay healthy and take care.
As we don't have a live chat option today, if you have any questions for Lisa, please direct them to her at the following email address as showing on the screen.
Our next presenter is an all-around great guy and a good friend of Las Vegas Global Business Committee. He is the chairman and CEO of ECI Development. His residential resort development company builds communities in Belize, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, El Salvador, and Mexico. Tropical neighborhoods include homes, condominiums, golf courses, and hotels in beach, agricultural, and mountain locations. He also serves on the board of several multinational companies, charitable foundations, holds a CIPS certification, is a past international director of NAR, and heads the International Referral Network for Realtors. He is also a major contributor to Escape Artist magazine. Please welcome your friend and ours, Michael Cobb.
Michael, thank you very much for a very nice introduction. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you all today virtually. I'm really sorry I am not there in person. It's always fun to come out and see everybody. Graham, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this presentation and a part of your global day today. Again, it's a bummer to not be there, but hopefully soon we'll all be back together again, perhaps in San Diego here shortly, right? We got NAR coming up, and we will be there, our whole team, Ali Rodriguez, Rachel Jensen. So if you are coming to San Diego, please make a point to come by the Global Village in the exhibit hall. We'll be there. And we also have some fun activities planned. So make sure you ask us. In fact, ask us now about the fun activities so we can get you signed up. It's a very small, limited number of folks who get to do it. Last year, we did the roller skating. And I know some of you did the roller skating. The year before, we did the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon in Boston's MIT Museum. So we definitely have some fun stuff. Reach out if you want to do something in San Diego. I'd love to have you join us. But anyway, again, it's great to be here again. Michael, thank you very much for having me today. And so we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about some global things that a lot of times get left off the table, right? We're going to talk about some very important tax issues that folks going overseas absolutely must pay attention to. And we're going to talk a little bit about the credibility scale that I've developed, because when you talk about going overseas, or your clients talk about going overseas, a lot of times they face this, I don't know, this pressure or these comments like, oh, you're going to get killed if you go there, or oh, you got to be kidding me. And so I've developed a credibility scale, and we're going to talk a little bit about that so that we as consumers, or our clients as consumers, can really put things into perspective. And so we'll get there. But anyway, let's go ahead here. We're going to talk about these 4 things, right? We're going to talk about how you bring value to an outbound transaction, right? Because at the end of the day, look, if you're at this global day, you are a real estate professional. Many of you are realtors. I know we have other mortgage brokers and some other people who serve the real estate industry with us today as well. But if we are professional realtors, right, and we bring value to a transaction, we deserve to get paid. I mean, you're spending a day of your time at this educational conference so that you can learn things that will help you earn more in the future. But we earn more by serving, of course. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the value. We're going to talk a little bit about some options, what this world of options looks like, so we have a better understanding of really what's out there, easy and convenient for our clients is. We're going to talk about those responsibilities and the filing requirements that people have when they go overseas. Again, we can bring value to that transaction by helping folks understand that. And then we'll talk about the credibility scale as well. All right. So, I just want to frame this and say, this is something that I've been doing for a long time. I started ECI development in 1996. That's 25 years ago. We started in Belize. We've expanded to Nicaragua. We're in Costa Rica. We're in Panama. We are now launching. We have launched a project in El Salvador. It's not on this slide, but so today we're actually working in 5 countries. We'll be in Mexico by the end of this year, Q1 of next year. So we've been around a long time, 25 years working in the region. We know what we're doing. We're very good at what we do. And so that's important. I mean, credibility and track record really matters. And when I talk about our company, what I'm really talking about are the people. Myself, my business partner, Rachel Jensen, you heard me mention her, Ali Rodriguez, who heads up our global referral program, which many of you know Ali. But again, a whole team of people. In fact, over 100 folks today make up the ECI organization. And what's important about this is, again, we've institutionalized the knowledge of these 100 people, and we've created processes and systems to be able to do the things that we do very well in service of our clients, which in many cases are your clients. So we're here to serve, and we serve well. And so this idea of bringing value to a transaction, right? And who are the people that go overseas, right? Who are these folks? Well, they're people that have a spirit of adventure. Some people are looking for peace of mind. We call those Plan B folks. And there's a whole group of people who just really enjoy being in a community of other adventurous souls. And so this idea of, we can run from something like people worried about, whatever it is in the US or Canada that's bothering them. We have, the politics, the social, COVID. There are many things that are upsetting people today. We live in a very divisive political environment, and people on the right and the left are saying, well, gosh, maybe there's someplace else I can be that won't be as divisive. And that's a running from, that's somebody looking for a plan B. On the other hand, plan A is people who are running towards. They have a spirit of adventure. They want a higher quality of life. They want a lower cost of living. And so when we understand the motivations of people, we can really see who we might be able to serve. And so this is really where the rubber meets the road, right? Why you should pay attention to the next few slides. Well, I hope you pay attention to everything, but the next few slides are really about how we, as real estate professionals, can serve the people who need our help. And they really do need our help. And we're going to talk about that too. But the Zogby company surveyed 103,000 people, and what they found was 11.6%. So 1 out of 10 folks were seriously considering owning property overseas. 1 out of 10. So if you have a network of people that you've served or people who are in your prospect base, and that number's in the hundreds or maybe even thousands, 1 out of 10. So if you've got 200-300 people, 20 or 30 of the people that you've listed a home, sold a home, or in your referral base are looking at property overseas. They're considering that. They need your help. They really, really do. And again, the reasons people are moving overseas, a lot of people are looking for investments. They're looking for a vacation property. They want to be diversified. They want to have a property they can go and enjoy a few weeks a year. And then when it's not being used by them, say in a rental program, or many people are actually moving full time now. The number of people who are overseas, check out these numbers. The number of people who are overseas, 8 million North Americans live outside of the US. And then there's obviously the folks who are retiring overseas, 613,000 folks already registered at consulates and embassies around the world. So this is actually happening. And again, it's happening more and more. And we have the ability to serve these folks. And there's the new demographic, right? They're the younger folks, the remote workers or digital nomads, as they're called. These folks are also looking overseas in greater and greater numbers, because when you can work from home, home can be anywhere. Really, home can be anywhere where you have good connectivity. We serve folks in the region. Again, throughout the region, because not everybody wants to live in Mexico or Belize or Costa Rica. People want to live in the mountains. They want to live in a vineyard community. They want to live in the Pacific Ocean because they love to surf. They want to live in the Caribbean because they love to dive, right? And the key is being able to match up the geography that our clients want with what's out there. And I just picked this slide. If you look, this is incredible. This is all Latin America. You've got vineyard communities in Mendoza, Argentina, and in Chile as well. You've got tropical highlands, right? This Cuenca, Ecuador. This is springtime all the time, a beautiful colonial city where it's 65, 70 at night, 80, 85 in the day, every day of the year. Some people, like you guys, are in Las Vegas, right? If somebody said, I love the desert, I love Las Vegas, but gosh, I want to be by the ocean. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. That's desert at the beach, right? Some people like the tropical, the Key West environment. Ambergris Key, Belize delivers that. And for folks who are on the California coast, they say, gosh, I love this, this year-round golf, semi-arid tropical weather that I get, in Southern California. But my goodness, it's so expensive and the traffic is so horrible. Where can I go that would give me the same geography, the same climate, the same feeling, but be a lot more affordable and a lot less busy? Well, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, the coastline there is very similar to Southern California. So again, if we know and understand, or we can ask our clients questions that help them define to us what they're looking for, we can help them find the property that really fits their goals and needs overseas. And when we do that, we can earn a fee for doing it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. This slide is jam-packed with information. In fact, our consumer resource guide, you're going to see a link to it later. This is our consumer resource guide. We've got a whole article just about this slide. But the bottom line is that different parts of Central and South America are really on a popularity scale. And countries and locations that are not so popular, the price of property is much lower. The places that are really popular, the price of property is much higher. But obviously in the popular places, you got people taking vacations and honeymoons. And in the unpopular places, much less so. So again, if we understand where we want to be on this popularity curve, then we can make better decisions, and we can help our clients do this as well. So let's talk about some things, because again, many people going overseas are looking at this, at least initially, as an investment. Now, we are realtors. We're not licensed to talk about investment, and therefore we don't. But we absolutely must understand that many of our clients are looking at property ownership overseas. Remember, it's 1 out of 10 people considering property overseas. That group of people, that 1 out of 10, many of them, in fact, about 2/3 based on our experience, are thinking about the property overseas as a vacation/investment property, at least for the time being, right? Many of them do imagine that they will be owning this property and in 10 years move there when they retire, right? But for the next 10 years, they're going to go on vacation and they're going to rent it out when they're not there. This investment overseas has important reporting and tax requirements that they need to understand. They may not understand those. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. Neither are you, presumably, right? They need to hire an international tax attorney or an accountant familiar with international tax reporting and filing laws, right? That's an important piece of information that we need to convey to them. But just generally, so that you have an idea of what some of these requirements are, and you can see how serious it is, right? You as a US resident or citizen, even if you're living overseas, you've retired, you've moved overseas, or you're a digital nomad, you go set up shop in Belize or Costa Rica or wherever, and you're earning money. Or even if you're not earning money, check this out. Even if you don't earn money, right? You're retired, right? Maybe you still get your pension or whatever, but you must file a tax return every year. As a US citizen or green card holder, you must file a tax return, even if you owe no taxes and you live overseas. A lot of times people don't really understand that. It's important. You must file. A state tax return, same thing. The states also, even if you've left the state, in many cases, you may still have a driver's license in that state, right? There is no such thing as a federal driver's license. So if you maintain a US driver's license, you are technically maintaining a residence in that state, right? So again, states have their own requirements. We must comply with those. In terms of tax deductions, this is very, very specific to the country you're in, whether they have a tax treaty with the United States, whether you can claim those credits. Those are all things that, again, a professional would be able to give great advice on. We need to recommend to our clients, we need to strongly recommend to our clients that they go find a tax professional to give them legal tax advice on these issues. But they have to know about it. See, we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. We move overseas, we have a vacation property, or we make an investment overseas, and we don't really think about what that means here, right? Because we don't know the right questions to ask on this. Well, our job as real estate professionals is to help our clients ask the right questions, okay? There are extensions for your tax returns when you live overseas. Again, very, very specific information, but important for the folks that we work with to know that they absolutely must, if they're going overseas, they're owning property overseas, vacation or investment, they really need to hire a tax professional to help them get it right. It's important to get it right. I mentioned that we have the credibility scale. We're going to talk about that in just a second. I moved to Nicaragua with my wife Carol, my daughter Amanda, back in 2002, and as you can imagine, people, my Rotary Club across the street, Cobb, you're taking your wife and 2-year-old daughter to Nicaragua? Are you crazy? Well, maybe I am crazy, but not for that reason. We lived in Nicaragua for 14 years and never once had a problem. I travel frequently, as many of you know. My wife and daughter, and I had a second little daughter, Emily, who came along while we were living there. They would drive up into the middle of nowhere looking for a butterfly farm they read about in some travel guide, right? And dirt road, rutted road, ox cart path, middle of nowhere to a butterfly farm. right? No issues ever. Driving around Managua, flat tire, alongside the road in the middle of Managua. Get out. A couple people actually stopped and helped change the tire, right? I mean, like, again, crime is local, and we had no problems in 14 years. And we had a great time, by the way. My family came to visit, her family came to visit. The girls, were in Girl Scouts. They trained in classical ballet. We had a great life there. But coming back to this idea of people immediately upon hearing that I was moving to Nicaragua, go, you're nuts, you're crazy, what are you doing? Well, it took me a little while, but I came up with this credibility scale, right? How much am I really going to pay attention to somebody's opinion, right? Like, on what basis are they giving me this advice or their opinion on something? Well, number one, I would call the least factor, right? That I'm going to weigh this opinion with the least amount of consideration, right? Somebody doesn't even have a passport. They don't have a passport. They're not even thinking about leaving the United States. Well, I mean, what do they really know, right? I mean, I'm not going to give that person very much weight in consideration. They have a passport, but they've never used it. Well, at least they've thought about traveling overseas. So I might listen to them a little bit more than the first person, but they've never been overseas. Again, they only think they know, that they don't know. No, knowledge comes from experience, and they have no international experience. They have a passport and they've maybe gone on a cruise, right? Maybe they went to Canada, right? Okay, all right. So they have a little bit of experience, but not in the country that I'm moving to. So we're going to give this one a little more weight, right? They have some knowledge, some real experiential knowledge. Oh, now we're getting here, right? Okay, this person has a passport and they've traveled extensively. They've been to some countries that, maybe would be off the radar of most people. Maybe they went to Vietnam or they went to, somewhere, Tunisia or something, right? I mean, they've gone some places that most people don't go. You know what? They've got a pretty high spirit of adventure. They've traveled extensively. I'm probably going to listen to what they have to say, right? Well, this person actually number 5 here, they've traveled extensively and they've lived overseas. They know what it means to be an expat. Okay. Now one ear's perking up hard. All right. Right. And number 6, both ears are perking up. They've traveled extensively and they've lived in the country that I plan to live in. You know what? Their opinion is gold. Their opinion is gold, and I'm going to pay the most attention to it. And I think, again, we have an article in the Consumer Resource Guide that covers this. But the idea is that a lot of people, kind of get scared off because they listen to the person with no passport, whatever. They watch some adventure movie where people run around the jungle with machine guns, and they just imagine that's what it's like in Central America, right? Because that's what they've watched on TV or the movie. You know what? If we stick to this credibility scale and we advise our clients to search out people who live in that country or who have lived in that country, we're going to get great advice. We're going to get great opinion. We're going to learn a lot, and we should pay a lot of attention to those folks. So, that's really fundamentally where this is at. And again, I want to circle back finally to this idea of bringing value to the transaction. We as realtors in the United States and Canada, you as realtors in the Las Vegas area, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, I get it. I'm interested in global. I'm attending this global day. But how do I really bring value to a transaction in Belize, for example, or Costa Rica, or Argentina, or Paris, France, right? Or Thailand. Lots of places, we don't work, right? But anywhere in the world, I can't know the world. I don't know the world, right? How do I bring value to this transaction? The way we as realtors can bring value is so simple. We can help our clients ask better questions. We went through some tax questions, right? Just an awareness. We can bring awareness to the situation for our clients. Hey, clients, if you have a business overseas, you have a property overseas, you're moving overseas, You're going to have different tax requirements, different reporting requirements, right? Be aware of that. That's value, because we're going to save them from a lot of trouble, potential trouble, if they don't follow the law, right? Well, there's some other ways that we can bring value. And I have the Consumer Resource Guide has 15 questions that we should ask when we buy property overseas. But they are absolutely questions that we would never think to ask. There are 15 questions. This is question 4. We're only doing one example, right? Check out this question that most people in Las Vegas would never think to look for or check out, right? Is the home or condominium plumbed for hot water in all the bathrooms? Well, I mean, like in Las Vegas, I think we would all go, duh, yeah, okay. But you know what? This next picture is a beautiful condominium in Costa Rica. It is phenomenal. It's a 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath condominium, 5th or 6th story, I can't remember. Beautiful views of the Pacific Ocean, right? And this was 2 of the 3 bathrooms. Well, 2 of the 2.5, because the half bath only had cold water. Check this out. Look at the view. This is beautiful. $379,000. The bathroom's nice countertops. The lighting was good. But if you got down on your hands and knees in the 2 full baths and the half bath in that condo, what you saw was a cold water pipe coming out of the wall with a Y splitter to take cold water to both taps up top. So the 2 suites had cold water in the bathroom. And my question to you is simply this. Do you believe that your client would want to know that the bathroom, 2 of the 3 suites had cold water before they wrote a check for $379,000? Would they want to know that? And if you say the answer is yes, of course they'd want to know that there was only cold water. Then you have the ability to bring value to this transaction. You can serve that client by helping them ask the questions that they would not normally think to ask. And how do you do it? Well, actually, you can get a copy of the Consumer Resource Guide. Please do that right now. Just send us a little quick email, globalday@ecidevelopment.com, globalday@ecidevelopment.com. Just send an email and write Consumer Guide in the subject line. I want to send you a copy of this. I want you to look at this Consumer Resource Guide, leaf through it, pay attention to the 15 questions. And when you look at that and you say to yourself, you know what? Yep, I think clients, my 1 out of 10 people who I already know and I already serve, okay, clients, I think this 10% of the people I serve really would like to know this. What we do is we work with you to help make sure that you then can serve those clients and get paid for bringing value to that transaction. Here's how it works. It's so simple. We need to identify the 1 out of 10. 9 out of 10 aren't interested. 1 out of 10 is. Let's identify them. Then let's serve them. And then again, let's make sure we earn money. So how do we do it? This is so easy, right? This is so easy, right? At the bottom of every email you send out, you have your picture. This is one of our affiliates that Rachel and Allie work with. But anyway, her picture, her contact information. And then right below it is this thing that just basically says, are you looking for international real estate? I can help. And if somebody clicks that, they have identified themselves to you as the 1 out of 10. Now you have a choice. You can have that email go directly to you. You can then talk to them and figure out what they want to do. You can have that email come to you and us, and we will then send qualifying information. Know this, when you introduce us to one of your clients, you are the lead source of record for life. You are the lead source of record for life. If they transact today, next week, next month, great. You're going to get a referral check. If they transact 10 years from now, you're going to get a referral check. So understand that. So we're going to identify the people. Then we're going to serve them. And I talk about, qualifying. If we send them a little survey and we find out what country they're interested in, or what countries, plural, because many times people are looking at 2 or 3 different options, we'll send them the country handbooks. Well, obviously we will absolutely send them the Consumer Resource Guide as well, right? But we can serve them with valuable information about the countries they're interested in and the Consumer Resource Guide which lets them begin to gain an incredible awareness and ask far better questions. And then when they transact, if they transact with us, you're going to get a nice referral fee. By the way, if we do a little quickie survey and they say, well, we're interested in a condo in Thailand or an apartment in Paris, we hand them back to you where you can then go and identify a CIPS realtor in Paris, France, for example. You can email them, call them and say, hey, I've got Bob and Mary Smith here in Las Vegas. They're interested in owning an apartment in Paris. What kind of commission split will you give with me if I refer them to you? And that CIPS agent over in Paris, France will work a deal with you. And what you will know is that your client is going to be very well taken care of because you've referred them to a CIPS realtor in Paris, France, who has a code of ethics, works by that code of ethics, and then will honor that service agreement, that commission agreement with you. Or if they're interested in one of our products, that's great. We're going to take great care of them. I am a realtor, and so is Rachel Jensen, and so are some of the other folks in our company. You know, we abide by this code of ethics. We've been around for 25 years. We've really earned the reputation of being the top in our business because, you know what, at the end of the day, the reputation takes 25 years to build and one day to lose. And so we want to make sure that you feel comfortable working with us, if it's our products or a CIPS agent somewhere overseas, and make those referrals. But at the end of the day, what we really want is the client, Bob and Mary Smith, to be well cared for, well taken care of, for them to get what they want. And we as realtors can bring value to this transaction, and then we can earn by doing just that. So we do look forward to helping your clients. If they're interested in property in Central or South America, we really will be able to help them in many cases. But we also look forward to helping your clients who are interested in property in Thailand or Paris, because, you know, our consumer resource guide is general. It's very generic. And so the information will serve any client looking for property pretty much anywhere in the world. And this is our chance, your chance, our chance to work together to bring value to a transaction and help folks who are looking for property overseas do a much wiser, prudent decision-making process. And that'll make us all feel really good. And that'll also let us earn money for the relationships we've already built and continue those relationships in great ways. I thank you all very much. I don't think we're going to be doing any Q&A today, but if you have questions, please reach out, globalday@ecidevelopment.com. Again, if you want to receive a copy of the Consumer Resource Guide, please just send an email right now, globalday@ecidevelopment.com. We will send you a copy of this. You can look at it, and I'm pretty sure that you will agree this is an incredibly valuable document for your clients, and we hope you decide to get involved, serve your clients looking for property overseas, and if it makes sense, we'd certainly like to be a partner in that process with you. Again, Graham, thank you for having me. Michael, thank you for a wonderful introduction. Hello to all my friends in Las Vegas. I look forward to seeing you again in person sometime soon. We will be in San Diego. Shoot us a note if you're going to be there. We're going to have a fun, special private event, and we'd love to have you join us.
If you have any questions for Michael Cobb, please screenshot his email address and contact him directly.
Our keynote speaker today is Mr. Gabriel Arias, and you won't want to miss the seat of the pants presentation. Gabriel hails from Manhattan Beach in Los Angeles, California. He is a graduate out of Harvard University, where he studied the future evolution of real estate and completing his thesis in leadership and design thinking. He is the director of real estate evolution, experiential development, at his company, Urbis Innovare. Gabriel, the time is yours, my friend.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And a special thank you to Las Vegas Realtors for their Global Business Committee invite. And well, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about real estate evolution and experiential design, two areas that I'm passionate about. And quickly, a little bit about me. I've been in real estate for more than 12 years, involved in mid to large size projects, from mixed use to hotels and hospitality, food halls, and pop-up stores in glamping all over the world. Along the way, I started seeing some changes as I was developing and entering new markets and site selection, that there were patterns that I was seeing, not only in each of the markets that I was involved, but also as a global in the real estate market as a whole. And that's when I started continuing and decided to expand my research and take up my second graduate program at Harvard, trying to understand if there was such a thing as real estate evolution. And if there was, where was it evolving to and why? So let me get into a little bit about this. What was happening prior to COVID? All the symptoms that we're seeing today were existing and happening for the last decade and a half. In retail, we were seeing a huge change in the consumer and social demographic habits, travel patterns, and transportation. Then we have had, for example, more stores closed in 2018 and 2019 than the last two recessions. We'll go into a little bit more about that later on. Then we had technology. In 2009, 2010, the first iPhone came out. That's really new. And it's made a massive change in how we live, work, play, and communicate with each other, but also in how we shop and where we live and what we want. Leverage buyouts. This is not a very well-known factor of a deep impact within the retail segment. And we'll go into that in a moment. In the office, we saw the resurgence after the previous recession of co-working. We've all heard and know the story of the great rise and the great fall of WeWork. And we'll talk about a little bit about that and its repercussions, but also the rise of the corporate campus. Ever since Apple announced that they were building their famous Starship, the market moved, and its repercussions are still being felt. In hospitality, the appearance of glamping, glamorous camping, where every room with a view is not necessarily in a big building or a street construction. We had markets that had over-tourism and had all those challenges in how to be adapting to those type of demands. We had mergers and acquisitions, for example, Marriott buying SPG and what that meant. Also in the industrial segment, we saw how the clicks, the technology companies, went from tenants to developers. And this particular item will and has been applying to all segments of real estate. We also saw the need for that last mile distribution centers. When we click an e-commerce platform, whether it's Amazon, the buy now, have it by 2-day delivery, same day delivery, that last mile has become an important and up and coming factor in the industrial segment. And also the delivery and the technologies that we started seeing appearing within the industrial segment. In residential, for example, we saw not only the change in patterns and habits from all of our clients, but also items appearing such as walkability. What are the driving times and the displacement times from point A to B? What are the amenities? And what are the differences and similarity in the two biggest segments that are going to move this needle? Are they different or are they similar? The boomers and the millennials. So let's talk about retail for now. Retail, what are the changes and what's going on? Around 2018, we started hearing this very dark cloud kind of sentiment of retail apocalypse. Doom is here, they're coming, it's closure, never will we have retail again. E-commerce has killed it. Funny thing is that it wasn't because of e-commerce. It is one of the symptoms, but it's not even in one of the major ones. Why was there such a huge closure of department stores in 2018 and 2019, more than the last two recessions. But bear in mind, this was within an economic boom. Something didn't add up. People were spending more, and still stores and malls were closing. And once again, it's not because of e-commerce, or not just because of e-commerce. E-commerce is not the one that we want to pay the blame to, because we'll see what they're doing, what the clicks are doing, and how they are actually becoming bricks. For example, the US was the most over-retailed nation on Earth prior to the crisis, and an average of 26 square foot per person, where other developed markets like Europe, Canada, and other segments were in the range between 15 to 18 square feet per person. Out of the 1,800 malls that there were prior to COVID, only 300 to 500 will remain. This is a huge change and a huge opportunity or challenge, depending on how we want to adapt and see it. There was changing in consumer habits. Long were the days gone by where the whole family, the wife, the kids, and everyone would spend all day at the mall. The spending all day at the mall has changed. If we look at pictures of the people who visited the malls, you would see them that dress up in their Sunday's best and their jewelry and fine clothing. That was the point where the community would meet. But that has changed. And so the mall and its science and design should have changed. We'll go into a little bit about the basic and the science of the design of the malls, but it's very important to understand that the scenery and the landscape and the social fabric when the malls were designed and built has dramatically changed, and it never adapted or evolved. Technology, obviously, huge wrecking ball or catalyst, depends on how you want to look at it. I prefer to look at it as a catalyst. So let's talk, what are the lessons from the mall? Because here is a very important question and several answers that are not written in stone. The mall design is typically designed with anchors. At the extremes, the first initial design was what we call the dumbbell. We had two anchors at each extreme. They represented more or less 40% of the tenant population, and the other 16% were small tenants. These smaller tenants had to pay for what the developer had to produce and seduce for these anchors. They had, whether it was free rent, free space, dedicated parking, and tenant improvement allowance, and checks that were from $15 million to $30 million. But above all, the giant space that they required. This financial cost had to be translated to someone, and that was the smaller tenants. The smaller tenants would pay higher per square foot rate than being outside the mall for the privilege and also access to the foot traffic that these anchors would create. Retail, at the end of the day, is a series of probabilities. In average, there are 8 seconds from the beginning of the store to the end of the store when the retail design, location, and its makeup has a probability to make the consumer look into the store and feel drawn or an appeal to it. And that continues to a series of probability that leads up to a sale. So when you're running on probabilities, you need two things: a lot of traffic and good design. And we'll talk about that. But then the landscape of the malls changed. What changed? And it started with the anchors. It started in the formula. When one anchor closes in a mall, in average, 13% of sales go down. So for the small operators, the smaller tenants, this is a huge blow, and something that they're paying a premium rent to have and are not receiving. Now, the problem that we are having today is that the majority of the malls, and this is great research that Cushman Wakefield did, my good friend, back in the day when he was involved, Garrett Brown has made a great analysis of all of this, but let's talk a little bit of what there was. There we had A class, A plus class, Class A, Class B, and Class C and D. Obviously, Class A, we had the premium, and these are the ones that are going to be in a better position to continue and survive. They have high square foot sales, they have great and more established neighborhoods that are economically cycle proof, if you will. But the problem still lies in the dependency of the anchors. The majority of the anchors are shrinking in size or filing Chapter 11. There's several reasons why this happened. And we like to blame e-commerce, but e-commerce never has surpassed more than 25% of sales on retail sales. So what changed? What were the things? One of the hidden culprits is leverage buyouts. Leverage buyouts is actually one of the biggest factors that the majority of these anchors have closed, reduced size, or filed Chapter 11s. And this will continue on for the next 4 years. The problem is that for the mall design, they're dependent on this type of dinosaur that is not coming back. The size, the demand, but most of all, the return of these anchors for the small tenants and the malls and the retail projects is not as big as it was once. We'll continue seeing this. And here's a little bit of a chart that we're seeing of how e-commerce has grown. But once again, look, it hasn't surpassed yet the roof of the 25%. People still buy. They're still buying, yes, they're complementing with e-commerce, but now we have the omni-channels, the stores that are both in the virtual and the physical world. We'll go into that in a moment. Another factor that has disrupted and once again is being changed is the appearance of content marketing, influencers, and everything else that comes with that package. We've seen from cosmetics to retail and clothing brands appear revolving about these ecosystems. COVID has changed that formula dramatically, and I think we'll see a huge change on this formula that was like a firecracker, very strong, very powerful, but it's going to change, and it's going to change very big. What we're seeing also is very important. When e-commerce operators or clicks are now venturing into physical space, they are experiencing an increase of sales presence and opportunities. So they're actually coming into our physical world. It's not that the physical world is obsolete. Bear in mind that these companies are now very focused in coming into the bricks. So what happens when the clicks become bricks? Well, we know that there are three places traditionally: where we live, where we work, and where we socialize. But those three bubbles have changed and are merging and are a little bit more intertwined, if you will. I mentioned the rise of the corporate campus. When Apple shot the market and announced their Starship, something major happened. One of the biggest companies of the world, that had and where people were and still are trying to be part of, said, I am no longer coming to the alpha towers of the back in the day, the big skyscrapers where people would fight to slap their brand or a company name on the top. They decided that they needed a campus more similar than what we see in the university campus, where people could actually spend more time, have better quality of life, reduce their stress, and all of that. So they actually not only hire great architects, but they did a lot of data and soul searching within their habits, within their employees. What was needed to increase performance, productive happiness, and make it more pleasant for them to spend longer times. And that has been echoed by the giants. We now see, for example, the $2.4 billion deal when Google bought Chelsea, the Chelsea food market. And that's not even only anymore an office. We're looking at how they've evolved from just a corporate campus to what I like to call a corporate mixed-use campus, where they realize, and this is our companies are coming from innovation, but also they like to understand how things work and what they're for. So they are very data-centric, very prone for innovation and adaptation, something that in the real estate world, we're not very comfortable with. We're used to, this is how we've always been done. These are the racial rules of thumbs, the formulas, the alliances, or the practice that has always been done. Why? Because our wheels of development are so big. It's very easy to stay in how long it takes to create, build, plan, construct, and open a single project. But our competition, the new kids on the block, they're innovative centric, they're data driven, and they have the population within their own walls to do research on habits, preferences, what they like, what they don't like, what their employees eat, and how they move, where they socialize, how they sit. So the deal for not only Google entering the office sector in the meatpacking district, they also went into the food hall and purchased Chelsea Market, because it's not only an amenity for their employees, it's data information on how retail and F&B is working. Amazon, for example, is investing $1.4 billion to expand into 6 cities because they can no longer contain their employee workforce. They also want to tap into different areas, different information, different talent. They're looking into this, but also Amazon, the company that we put the blame on their feet of the closures of giants like Barnes and Noble. They're announcing that they're making their own libraries. Their own bookstores. They purchased Whole Foods. They're now in the grocery. They're now going to enter department stores. They're now going to also do hair salons, fashion, and retail lockers. They're entering completely this physical world. And not only in the office, the retail, the industrial, but also the residential. They're now a big developer, and one to be very careful, but also one that we should learn and adapt to how they are moving. Because within those steps of giants, there's always room to move. There's always lessons to appreciate if we're willing to adapt and evolve. So tapping into the future of what the physical realm will be. We've heard about what omni-channel is. Omni-channel is a physical store and a virtual store where the user can come in, look what they want physically, but can move in order it digitally or virtually, and vice versa. A great example, Restoration Hardware. You go into Restoration Hardware, so you see how your kitchen, living room, or outdoor space will look like, and then all of a sudden, you can just order it and have it delivered because you had that experience. Experience, my dear friends, is the new coin. And we'll talk more about that. How this golden coin is what everyone should be honed and focused on to. Another important information, we talked about that last miles, and we're also going to talk about redevelopment and the threat/opportunity of vacant spaces. So what are we evolving? What does evolving? Do we just evolve for safe space and throw all the bells and whistles and all the gizmos that we can find? No, because retail and craft beer have something similar, very important lessons. And I'll share this with you because I like to help people understand why and the what's of why experience and consumer and customer-centric design is important. We ask Coors, Miller, Budweiser, how's the beer market? And they'll say it's tough. They keep spending on Super Bowl ads. They keep on bringing the Clydesdales and having that great campaigns and ads and everything. But sales are going down. They are actually owned by international companies, European, South African, South American. But we walk into any corner of the world, into a pub, bar, restaurant, and order a craft beer. Craft beers are basically non-existent less than 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, they're in every corner of the world. What happened? What happens if we ask that same question to the craft beer makers, and say, how's business? And they'll tell you something that's very valuable. There's a lot of competition, but if they focused on their story, connect with the consumers, business can be good. And that's what happened to retailers and malls. They focus more, like Budweiser and Coors, on fighting their competition and got disconnected from us, their clients, their consumers, the people that they should be still hearing and paying attention to. This is where it's very important. Retail is now at a point that it has to come back and understand why was it that in the 2018, 2019 period, people were spending more. The difference is that they were choosing differently on where and what they wanted to spend it on. And it was with stores, brands, that they could have a connection, that they could identify, that they felt was worth more than the coin that they were paying for. They were receiving from this coin not only merchandise, but a recognition of brands and values and experiences. So what is it going to look like? What is it going to move like? We're now having things like I mentioned before, walkability, bikeability. Now in the world post-COVID, those are things that people are stressful. But experiential retail and F&B are on the rise. And a good, important, and interesting lesson is, yes, we've heard and talked about urban versus suburban. Suburban is growing. Yes, that's true. But the suburbia that we knew from decades past is not the one that's growing. When you analyze which are the suburban spots, because not all suburban divisions are created equal. The ones who have more of a small town centric energy, where you still have that walkability to urban retail, those amenities, that connection, that vibrant communities that I like to focus on. Those in some areas are called high streets, in some areas are called main street. It's exactly that. It's where we used to walk, spend our time, very similar to the initial elements that created the malls in the first place. But now in a smaller, more intimate, more vibrant scenario. If we look at the growth and the growth patterns, mid-cities and vibrant communities will have a stronger fighting chance to adapt and thrive, because this is what the people are looking for, whether they're boomers or millennials. And let's see what they want. They want quality of neighborhood, an overall affordability of homes. There has to be a convenience in a connections with friends and family. Education and the quality of its school district is very important, but the design of its neighborhood, the convenience to its school, the convenience to move and integrate and socialize is now on the top reasons and what they're looking for. What is now lost is how close it is to the highway to go to the mall or an outlet mall. Those are now no longer determining reasons for people to look at small towns and subdivisions or suburban places. So let's talk a little bit of these changes and what they're currently creating. Almost 5 billion square feet of built existing square feet became vacant in 2020. That's a lot. But what that means even more is that in the real estate world, for developer, tenants, investors, REITs, this can be a huge threat or an amazing opportunity. A huge threat because reconversions, redevelopments, and desperation can create these assets, this vacant square foot, into an immediate and cheaper threat than we had in our radars when we initially started analyzing our projects or designing our developments. All of a sudden, we have someone in our neighborhood that has already been built, and they're desperate to come back with energy and power. Whether it's smart or not, that's not gonna be part of the equation. They're desperate to avoid keeping their empty square foot. They need to have it back again at vacancy levels. And they're gonna play hard, and they're gonna try to redevelop. Some of them will get it right, some of them will not, but that is still what's gonna be happening in our individual markets. So where did all the majority of this square feet come from? We talked about that only 300 to 500 malls will survive. And I get asked a lot in some of my meetings and when I've been invited like today for being a keynote speaker is, should we turn malls into what? Educational campus? I'll give you a case study in the next slide of why when we become so over specialized in our segments, sometimes we can lose our radar of what's happening. Malls, campuses, theaters, movie theaters, open air theaters, arts theaters, whatever you want. Retail, food and beverage, anchors, big boxes, grocery, but also parking. Parking is now being underused. Between 25 to 35 in developed markets, they don't want or own a car because they have what? The Ubers, the Lyfts, the walkability, the drivability that we were talking in the previous slides. What they would save before to go to an outlet mall is not worth the price of an Uber ride when they can get something that might be a little bit more expensive, but has a better brand recognition or experience for them. All of these assets are coming together and they can be turned from their original design and purpose into something else. So once again, they can be a great, great threat if they're not monitored. If we don't understand the symptoms and the valuable lessons of the why, what happened to them, then if we don't do these R&D, this searching, this pursuit for the why, what happened to each one of these categories? Why did this asset in my community become vacant? Then it will be a threat. It will be something that is going to affect us. But if we do that homework, if we do that search, then they become an opportunity, not only to counteract and react, but also to understand where things are evolving to. The real estate world, after the 2007, 2009 financial recession, was hit by a giant earthquake, and those tremors haven't stopped. Things are still shaking up. COVID accelerated it, emboldened them, gave them growth hormones. Shifts and changes are still happening. Victoria's Secret was amazing, grow, and it was a desirable tenant. Their shows were watched and televised. They almost went through chapter 11. They just changed the formation of their angels. Yet Rihanna, for the last 2 years, launched her clothing and lingerie brand, and all of a sudden, all of these and more amazing artists are walking with her in 2 years. There's changes that are happening, and we have to make sure that we understand them. When Apple first launched its retail stores, they were laughed at. They were laughed at by the same people who say, this is how it's always been done. You don't change the formula. Yet these tech companies, they're data-driven, consumer and experience-centric, and they're very much culturally innovative induced. So I said a little bit about the campus. When we talk about the malls, a lot of people come in, oh, well, what would turn them into an educational campus or a college station or whatever? But these two are actually having the same symptoms. And if you ask either side says, well, we can turn the campus into a mall. We can turn the mall into a campus. What they don't understand is their one-stop solution, their quick fixer-upper, this great recipe that you're just going to sprinkle around all the malls or all the campuses is going to work, is that they're being affected by the same situation because they're not paying attention. There are roughly about 1,626 public campuses and the same number for the private ones. 800 of the 1,687 private campuses were expected to close prior to COVID. Before COVID, registrations were down between 15 to 30%. All of this was happening before COVID. It is expected that half of these colleges and college campuses, whether they're public and private, will be open and survive the next 5 years. So before we would say location, whether it's residential, industrial, or hospitality, I urge you to make the question, whether it's location, or now it's location, experience, and innovation. Here are some final thoughts, kind of bring all the information. I know we've seen a lot of things. I know I threw a lot of thoughts all over. I just wanted to give you food for thought, tickle your brain, but also make sure that you expand your horizons and your radars, because real estate is about to get very close and very personal. That includes our consumers, clients, but also our competition, whether it was the traditional one that we used to know or the new techs. Let's talk a little bit. COVID didn't create anything, it just accelerated the trends that were already happening at all levels. Redevelopment cannot and should not be ignored. It can either pose a threat or an opportunity. It's up to us. Experience and experiential design is now the new gold coin. We're seeing experiential design in corporate campuses, in food and beverage, in residential, in office, in everything. And since we go back to the three areas, live, work, and socialize, are becoming even more intermingled. These practices, this design, the people who work at these tech companies, these corporate campuses, they're going to demand and want this same approach in design. The amenities that we would see in brochures at the residential segment before, which were the gym, is no longer what they're looking, especially now after a COVID global pandemic situation. What they want is more dog parks, open centers, walking areas, barbecues, whatever makes them free, open, and be able to intermingle and socialize, especially after a year where we had social distancing and quarantine. Experience is the new gold coin. Make sure that it's something that you're willing to focus on, because that's what they're going to be paying with you and demanding that they get in return. Focus on the client's needs will be centric and vital, but so above all, to understand all these changes that have been happening, changing, and evolving, but are not written in stone. They can also be modifying the tremors, the shaking of our market is still happening, of our habits. So R&D will be vital for all developers, investors, and all clients and tenants. R&D will be vital to survive, understand, and evolve. Retail is now, and all real estate is having a Darwin moment that will transform us forever. And once again, I want to thank you. I was happy to share all my passion research for the last 10 years. This is my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to reach out, connect. I'm glad to talk, answer more questions. But above all, thank you for your time, for your attention, and I wish you a great, great day.
Thank you, Gabriel, for an interesting and exciting presentation. Michael, your thoughts on today's program?
Yes, a very interesting program. Lisa from NAR had some very valuable information, and then of course Michael Cobb, as always, gave a great presentation on tips and tricks if you are considering moving out of the US and living abroad. And Gabriel certainly brought a different perspective of real estate innovation that I haven't heard of before. So yes, a great program, and hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yes, I concur with your comments, Michael. A great morning of great presentations and lots of valuable information that hopefully will help our members in their international real estate activities. Well, that wraps up the first part of the day. We've certainly enjoyed bringing these presentations to you, and wherever you are in the USA or the world, we're thankful that you elected to spend this time with us. We really appreciate you.
Don't forget, we have a CE class starting at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which we hope you have registered for and have already received the Zoom link. If you haven't received the link or would like to join, please email as shown on the screen. Enjoy our amazing instructor, who of course is one of the world's premier certified international property specialist instructors and a great motivational speaker and real estate instructor within the USA, Miss Tamara.
Okay, see you all back at 1 p.m. for the CE class.